С днем рождения, Beethoven. Alles Gute zum Geburtstag, Beethoven.
Liza, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you were born in Russia and then you moved to Germany when you were 11, is it?
No. Yes, I was born in Russia, really. And I came to Germany to study here at the age of 16. So when I
Age of
ended
16.
school in my country, then I came here to get a high education.
I see. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? I know that you started playing the violin at the age of 3. What was the impetus? Do you remember when you started?
Well, of course, not I remember, but my parents, what they told me. Well, I have older sister, and she actually was like she motivated me to start to play violin because she chose violin as her instrument. Also, at the age she was child, like 6 or 7 years old. And when I was born, I just saw how she practiced, and it was something charming for me. Really, at the age of 3, I said my parents that, Mom, Dad, I really want to try. So at that time, really, it was something very unusual that such little kid asks parents just to play violin. But we decided just for fun to start something new with music, like a game or something like that. But now you see what's happened. Like,
So did you always play classical music?
yes, always. So first instrument was violin. Then 1 year later, I started to sing, then to play piano. Then I had harmony and all that stuff, like really professional level, and only classical always. It was my dream, and that's what I like.
I had no idea. So not only do you play the violin, you also sing and you played the piano.
Mhm.
Wow, multi-talented. Um,
Oh.
who did you, whose music influenced you the most as a child? What stuck with you as a
Well,
little
as
girl?
a little girl, actually, I don't know. I just liked what happened to me. Everything was very interesting, and even my teacher, it was my first teacher, was very young woman, I would say, because she only ended her school, and it was like experimental thing to practice with me. And even how she played, how my sister played, it was inspiration for me as well. Of course, when I started just really to study music as my profession, very officially, so to say, and I learned some really great musicians like David Oistrakh, Heifetz, and so on. I took from each one something special for me, just to build myself as a person in music world. So everyone, I would say, just music generally, what is it, is inspiration for me.
Mm. And what composer or composers were your greatest influence as a child?
Well, as a child, maybe not something serious. Tchaikovsky, maybe I would say, because it's very beautiful, you know,
Hmm.
and yeah, such style. I cannot say only one composer because it's very different thing. And, but I'm more a deep person, even when I was child.
And as you grew up, which composers influenced you the most? Because not only did you play the violin, you also sang and you played the piano.
Yes, well, piano it's not so high level as violin, just for myself, so to say. But for composer, I adore Shostakovich very much, and Beethoven, of course, too. So this direction, I would say. So like all musicians are shared between Mozart and Beethoven. So I'm more in Beethoven direction.
And when was the first time you heard Beethoven?
Wow, good question. Well, I heard Beethoven quite young. So I was a little girl, of course, but I could not understand how great is it, of course. So when I started to practice with Beethoven, I was already quite, so it happened in Germany first. So I was not so little already. And of course, I was so astounded how great is it, how genius he wrote it.
Which of his compositions is your favorite? I mean, he
Concerto,
wrote
violin
many, I know
concerto.
that. Yeah. Oh, I see the violin concerto. It
Yes.
is beautiful. Yes, absolutely. And have you played it? Have you practiced it? The violin
Of course,
concerto?
of course, yes. Three movements. It's great job.
You played for us the violin sonata number 10 in G major, the
Mhm.
Opus 96. What is it about this piece that moves you?
Well, first I should say that this last sonata is really special because Beethoven composed it after really many years. So it was a big pause after nine sonata and this 10. So like everyone thought that he would never write again some sonata, but suddenly this 10th, it was already really like his late work. And I guess that he put really deep meaning in this sonata. That's why, remember, I told you that I'm more deep person. That's why it's easier for me to understand such music, to understand his personality, and to bring this idea to people. So I really like it. It's very beautiful, also, especially second movement. I love it. This harmony and how he
Hmm.
wrote it.
Yes, this is belongs to his late period. And do you think that the fact that you learned to sing as well as play the piano influence how you play the violin, how influence your musicianship?
Sure, sure, it influences, especially that I can play piano, because you know how we work with music with score. So I never use only my violin part, especially in sonatas. I use the score which pianists play because then you see all harmony, and when you can play it on piano as well, it's of course it's easier, so you see this full picture of what's going on in the score. And when you listen to this music, so all minute details are here in your mind, and then immediately so you can react what because sometimes violinists has just only a long note, right? But pianists play really life is there in his hands, and you have to know it to understand it and to
Mm.
develop this your long note somehow, what just how harmony goes. And of course it helps me.
Mm. And tell me, I know that you have won many international competitions, including the David Oistrakh competition,
Mhm.
who is one of your heroes, violin heroes. So you're very much immersed in the classical music world. How do you think, having started to play the violin at the age of 3, how do you think this lifetime of practice of classical music transformed you as an individual from the inside?
Well, you know, like all around in the whole world, people say that classical music helps a lot to develop like intellectual side of each child, right? So even if it's not some professional level, just for you, just to learn it. And you know, like we have many spheres of art, like painting, writing, literature, right? So many, but everything you can see, so you can visualize it. But music, you have to work hard to see this picture, to imagine what's going on, especially when it's symphony or violinist, pianist play, right? And for that, you need really to be very clever. And that's why I think it's the highest art, what we have now. And when you just going into this profession, being a musician, you really develop not only your soul, of course, because it's music, like, yes, it's something special, but your mind, because when you don't know history, literature, you cannot perform. You have to understand what just time it was when, for example, Beethoven wrote this sonata number 10 or any piece, right? So you have to know exactly what's going on that time. And it's all inclusive, so to say. It's like you build yourself from childhood. That's why you need much time to be a real professional to play. I think so.
That's an excellent answer. Thank you. And what do you think is unique about Beethoven's music, his composition? Some people have said to me that Beethoven is unique because it takes seasoning to understand and comprehend and play his music well. And other has said that it's because he wrote the music not for his patrons who are who might be princes, but for people, and even in some cases for the future who he doesn't even know. What do you think is the unique thing about Beethoven?
Well, first of all, such music, what we can hear now, is he started that. So symphony, how we have it, and it was like a big start, new step, new level of classical music. And of course, in music world, Beethoven is a god. I think so. So like for me, and what is so unique, it's like mix in one personality, that he really was faithful person, so we know it, everyone knows it, but he still lived in that world. So everything what he did was really a very like not so much high in the sky, so to say. He was here on the earth man, so to say. And that's why he was really strong with correct idea how he thought it, how he saw what the world is. And yes, how you mentioned about future, because this self-confidence what he had, and he was so really confident what he is doing, what he is writing, and he was fighting all that life, because how can something happened if it's not correct, for example, and he fighted it and he showed it with his music. And that's why I think he put his name in the history, because of this clear idea. You know, it's very important for each person to have the idea why you're here, to have a purpose, and he had it. And had it very clearly from the very childhood. When he was born, he already knew what he will be. And I find this unique in Beethoven.
Well said. Now you are actually in Germany. Where in Germany are you?
In Mainz. It is near Frankfurt am Main.
I see. Have you visited Bonn, where Beethoven was born?
Unfortunately not. It's my wish, but I always try to find some time to go there.
And so we are celebrating Beethoven's 250th birthday. What thoughts do you want to impart to the world, especially to those who are young? What would you say to them on this, what we consider to be monumental birthday of a great person?
Well, first of all, just to know Beethoven and what he was and what he was doing in this world should know everyone. It's just like a big message to all people in the world. But of course, just to say something to young musicians and just to young another young people, yes, who are not musicians, it's different, because for musicians, I would say not to be afraid to play, to try, just because, you know, sometimes I know it because I came to this idea quite late, I think. Just try to, when you see the score, try just to play music, not to see these notes, the difficulties what we have. Yes, just some technique. Just try really to follow it, to follow this idea, and then you will understand music, and especially Beethoven music, because it's really very interesting to follow his lines in the score, how he did it. It's genius, really genius. And then it will be easier to understand another composers, another music. Really, it helps a lot for usual young people, not musicians. Just not only to listen to this music, but to feel it, because through our heart we understand much more. It comes to us because, you know, right now there is such tendency that classical music is boring, and Beethoven is more than classical music. It's just typically fundamental what we have. And I think that this idea that classical music is boring is absolutely not right. We have to avoid it, to forget about it, because when you really come to this world and not just wait until the end of the piece, but try to analyze what's going on, then you really, I think your world, your life can change a lot. And that's what Beethoven really can do with each life in the world.